I'm in a prison. This prison has 4 walls, no shackles, no prison guards. Why do I stay? I'm a predator in a cage. Can anyone see me? Can anyone hear me screaming? Can you?
Time to start makeup. Ow. Ooh. Not yet. This isn't working. There. I do say that's a lot better. Hi, I'm John. At least that's what they called me at birth. I really don't like my name. I think it's a little plain. My mother could have been a little more creative. But if you knew my mother like I know my mother, she's not that creative. I mean, she can be. So I go by Joan. Everybody calls me Joan. And that's part of the drag community too. People just get used to calling you by that name.
Hi everyone, I'm my cunt, or Mimi. I don't know. I go by like a lot of different names, so I have a lot of different people calling me all kinds of different stuff. But basically, I don't know. I'm just me, and my drag name is my cunt.
Your New Mexico, for your consideration, I'm District New Mexico Sweetheart at Large 2019. My personal style is Androgyn Drag, and my personal motto is, you're not my real dad and you never will be. Thank you guys very much.
People in general, psychologically speaking, they judge you within the first 2 seconds of seeing you. They don't have to talk to you. They just look at you and they already have a judgment of who they think you are. And it's worse for people who are already not normal or feel uncomfortable in their skin. Immediately people pick up on that and they're like, oh, this one's special.
Seven o'clock-ish, you know. So, this is my video diary on what it's like to be a poverty-stricken, non-binary, pansexual, lesbian, drag king. I always thought that I would be accepted in the queer community. I'm queer. And so not having a decent foundation growing up not being accepted as a queer weirdo. Like, I'm too weird for the weirdos kind of thing. I've been rejected by every group I've ever tried to be a part of. I tried being a professional singer for a while and being part of the karaoke community out here in Albuquerque, and they hated me. Then I thought maybe the queer community will accept me. They tolerated me kind of for a couple months, and then after a while, when they realized I wasn't gay enough and I was married to a dude, they bullied me out too. That's what I've realized, is that I'm a lesbian in a gay man's world.
I know I look like shit right now. I just shaved. Hi, I'm John. Or Joan. Everybody calls me Joan. That's the thing when you have body dysmorphia. I never thought I had body dysmorphia. I thought I liked myself just fine. I started out with just doing drag. And it felt so good that I started to get a little confused. What do I mean by confused? I just wanted to be pretty all the time. What people don't understand when you're a boy with a beard is you have to shave it every time. And I like to look natural, so I like to get it as close to the skin as possible. And as you get older, that fucking clock. As you get older, it starts to scar up your skin and you bleed more. So every time a scar builds up, it just cuts it right open. And if you were to ask me what's standing in the way of me being who I really want to be, it's my fucking body hair. On other guys, it's fine. On me, I kind of feel like it's gross. It disgusts me. Everybody has an idea about trans. We all hear transgendered males and females talking about who they are and what it's like, but for the normal population, and I say normal population, they take all that information and they still don't know what it feels like. It feels like every day you're living, you're just not yourself. Like, I could walk into a room, I could look great. I mean, I know I'm semi-attractive, but I just don't feel good. I feel like I'm acting, and I feel like people can see through that.
So my childhood was pretty typical, I guess. I grew up in Colorado and, we lived in El Paso for a little while. And I mostly lived in Albuquerque. We came back here when I was about 15. Like, it was pretty typical childhood, it wasn't really crazy. My family's pretty wealthy. So I never had to want for anything. We never grew up living in poverty. I always had food, clothes, whatever I needed. But I just never felt like I really got the emotional support that I needed from my family or from, any of my friends, really. Like, I've never met anybody who I didn't consider to be fake and who I considered to be like a true friend when I was growing up. I had a lot of friends back then, but they all just kind of disappeared because they're all fake, And so that's kind of how I learned to not trust people, is through my childhood. People just being really terrible to me my whole life. And I remember the first time I really got, like, something really bad happened to me was I was in high school. I was a freshman. And they were announcing, like, people who had been nominated for homecoming court. And they said my name over the speakerphone. I did not expect that. I was shocked because I didn't think enough people even knew me to, like, nominate me. But then when I went on the field after they nominated me, the whole school booed me. And that was the first time that, like, a whole community of people, like, genuinely just hated me. I've had this happen as a reoccurring theme in my life where people just, like, whole groups of people just hate me. I'm like, I don't know what I do to piss people off so bad, but I feel like a lot of it is that I'm just not willing to conform to what they want me to conform to. And, when I was in high school and I moved back here, I mean, anytime anybody asks me what I did in high school, I always just say drugs. Because that's 90% of what I did in high school is my friends would just give me random pills and I would just take them when I moved here. Like, everything changed when we moved back here when I was about 15 or 16, and everything was different. And, I'm kind of grateful that we moved away from Colorado because Colorado prices are just insane. And I'm happy I didn't have to stay there and try and get a job and deal with that up there. That's a crisis nonsense that nobody should deal with. In my childhood is where I found a lot of trauma in my life. I had people, obviously a lot of women especially experience this, is people touching them without their permission, and so I have a lot of trust issues. I don't like being hugged. I don't want people to touch me, especially men. Any guys even get too close to me or give me weird looks, I just freak out and immediately start having flashbacks. But when I'm in public, a lot of people don't realize how anxiety works for people. For me, it's more of like, I may look okay, but I'm freaking out on the inside. But I'm just good at keeping my cool and pretending like everything's okay. And I've had to learn a lot of that from all my childhood trauma, like learning to cope with the outside world not accepting you and being different and having to deal with that is really where I learned a lot of that. And I learned a lot through trauma and abuse and being bullied my whole life. I've just been different my whole life. I've always been to this or to that, or not enough this or not enough that. I've just learned to not really care what people think about me. I've just had to grow up at a very young age because I didn't get the emotional support I needed, which is the story of many of us gays, that we don't get the support we need. We don't get what we need in life. And so we learn to not trust people and to not get too close to people because we're worried we're going to get burned.
Judy Garland here. I just want to talk about how MGM Studios and Louis B. Mayer, Daddy, made me an alcoholic and a drug addict. It really started on the set of our beloved Wizard of Oz. I didn't like that my tits were too big. So there I was, pretending like I was a young girl on a farm, bound up. He wouldn't let me eat. I barely slept. I was so hungry. And soup only goes so far, and to this day I won't eat it. He gave me uppers to keep me awake, and then when I couldn't sleep, 2 pills would just show up, and then they would knock me out. And the next morning it was black coffee, and thanks to Mickey Rooney, a sidecar of gin. How many times the colorful sap made me feel like I was flying. Growing up, everybody said, why don't you go play with the boys? Well, I want to play with the boys. They were playing football. I did like soccer, but it's an aggressive sport, and I can just kick people. Like, that was fun. But I didn't want to play with the boys. I didn't want to do evasive sports. I didn't like cars. I didn't like wrestling. I had nothing in common with them. And I still don't. Like, when I look at AKA straight men, or men who act in a masculine way, it makes me feel uncomfortable about myself because I could never be masculine. And a lot of people say, oh, it's okay. You grew up with women. You were raised by women, so we can see that. That has nothing to do with it. I just don't feel masculine. How I feel in relation to other people is kind of a funny subject, and it changes depending on groups. So I'm very uncomfortable when I go into social settings. If I'm walking down the street, I have to have my music with me. I have to have at least one earbud in. It has to be blaring. I get anxiety in social settings, and people don't see that. They see me like, oh, he's a go-getter. He's really open. He's the first one to go talk to someone. And while that is true, because I know that's valuable in society and people like to see that, and they respond well to that, it freaks me out. So I'm always thinking like, well, what are they going to think about me? And people are like, well, what do you care? And I'm like, well, I do, because that's going to in turn affect how our construct is going to be, our dynamic. And I don't want our dynamic to be off because they think something that's not true. I don't fit in. I feel like I am myself. So people look at me and they're like, wow, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, you probably fit in really well. People seem to respond to me okay. I don't really fit. I feel like I don't fit.
So this is day 2, August 19th, 9 p.m.-ish. The callousness and the greed that this company is capable of is completely revolting. My managers are completely revolting. The way they treated some people, I don't think they deserved it, honestly. They didn't really do anything wrong. The other manager, I'm gonna call him D manager because he's a dick, and then I'm gonna call the GM G manager. So GM is a prick. I hate him. I think he is a fucking douche, and I think that a friend gave him a GM's position in Las Cruces, and then he moved up here thinking he's hot shit. Well, I'm not his slave. And DM literally kicked a couple with 3 kids out of our hotel for no reason. He was ruthless about it too. He told them they had to pay $100 incidental fee, which is ridiculous. We do that for locals for some reason, but whatever. And when they didn't pay it, they only paid the $20 incidental fee, which is normal after they paid for their room on points, which makes it so that their room was paid for. He kicked them out anyway because they didn't pay enough. It made me feel like there's no hope for any of us.
Got a drink handy?
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, Jean, crack open the safe and get out some of that good bourbon. You never used to drink during the day.
Never used to drink at all. It's just a little habit I picked up from men.
Oh, man. I never yet met one of them who didn't have the instincts of a heel. Sometimes I wish I could get along without them.
I think I always knew I was queer. I didn't always know I was trans. I always thought, I don't know. I had body dysmorphia, I think, more when I was younger. I didn't realize that this was a symptom of trans, is that, I used to tape my boobs up. And it was because I just didn't feel comfortable with them. I mean, I was in 4th grade getting hit on by adult men because I had a B cup in 4th grade. And I've always been I've always had big tits. So when I realized I was queer, it's just, I don't know, it was just one of those things that it kind of just snapped one day. I just kind of, I've always been interested in women. I've never really wanted to be super hyper femme. And my parents always dressed me in dresses and always wanted me to wear makeup and did my hair every day. And it never felt right. And then, I just dress how I want to now. Sometimes I'm femme, sometimes I'm masculine. I just like to be me. And I realize that I'm not necessarily trans or non-binary or any label. It's just like, I just want to be me. When I go home, I don't feel like I'm a gender. I don't feel like I'm a trans person or whatever. Like, I don't like labels about it because it's like, I just want to be me. I just want to hang out in my house and not feel any judgment and just not feel self-conscious about my body. And even though I'm big and I look at myself and I think that I'm lumpy sometimes, I've just embraced it. Like, this is just who I am. And people find me attractive for some weird reason. I don't understand that. I've just learned to accept my body and accept myself for who I am.
I've been thinking a lot about when I was growing up. Everybody always thought that I was weird, and I never quite fit in anywhere. I didn't want to play with the boys. I only wanted to play with the girls. But when I think about how I truly felt about myself, I don't think I felt like a boy. I mean, I know I'm a boy because that's sort of the way it goes when you're born. You don't get to choose. And you grow up and people tell you, well, boys play with trucks. Boys don't play with makeup. Boys can't be pretty. But that's just the thing, isn't it? Isn't that really what feeds into the dysmorphia? I'm Joan, and I have body dysmorphia. Sure, I'm attractive, I guess. Sometimes I feel like I'm not complete. Like something's missing. Like inside my head, I feel like there's a girl up there. just sort of trapped. Then when I look in the mirror, I don't see a girl. I see a thing. For a long time, I just was non-binary, and I was okay with that, but I really don't feel like switching back into boy mode, to the point where I've got rid of all of my boy clothes and have just become alternative, because that seems to encompass both genders. So for a while I was actually non-binary, and I thought that fit, but it doesn't, because sometimes I'm like either or like I dress goth or I dress this way, and so I go by how I feel. But that's not really non-binary. And so dysmorphia is like, when I look at my body, someone could see me completely, naked, and they'd be like, wow, you're really hot. Well, I don't feel really hot. I feel like my body is weird. I feel like my face is weird. Everything about me is just wrong. And that has to do with a lot of how I feel about myself internally, and that's dysmorphia. When I act masculine, it feels ridiculous. Like, you see these ultra masculine men, and I'm like, gee, they're really hot, but I can't be that way because I feel like a clown. Like this is normal. How I'm acting, my mannerisms, my voice, that is normal to me. But if I go out of my way to act masculine, I feel like people are like, what the hell is he doing? Why would he do that? Toxic masculinity, I hate it. Growing up, there's this whole thing, boys don't do this, they don't do this, that boys play with cars, boys wrestle, boys they have no problem using the locker room together. Girls have to be in the kitchen. Toxic masculinity sucks because they use it against me. They're like, well, you're a little too femme, or sorry, I don't like femme guys, or oh, this was great. You're too femme. I like femme guys, but you're too femme. Like, how can you be too femme if that's what you like? And it just feeds into how people act with other people. And especially when we're talking about men, they use their toxic masculinity to shred anybody who is just even slightly feminine.
I've been performing my whole life. Professionally, I started performing when I was about 8. I think is when my mom realized that I had some real talent. When we lived in El Paso, I hung out with all the other Mexican kids, which is hilarious because I look white, but I'm actually mostly Mexican. And so when I was living in El Paso in a really hot climate, I actually tanned really well. And so I fit in with all the little Mexican kids. And so we would always listen to Selena. I love Selena. Who doesn't love Selena? She's just classic, amazing, just talent. That's when I started realizing that I had talent, is I would sing all kinds of Selena songs, like on the level of professionals. Actually, we went up to a golf tournament we had always gone to, and I started singing karaoke with, all the adults, and I was just better than them at that age. And the karaoke host would get jealous of me at 8 years old, and she would just not let me sing because she would get all hurt that I was just better. And it's like, karaoke has always been one of those things where it's like, I really appreciate it for what it is, that it is a great way to showcase your talent, but at the same time, when it becomes competitive, that's when it's not fun anymore, and that's when it's not, I would rather someone just suck, just completely be terrible, but be in their own world having a great time and think that they're amazing, because that's more fun than a karaoke competition. A karaoke competition is a joke. And so I've been performing my whole life, really. I feel like my whole life is a performance. I feel it's all just, you put on a mask, you put on a face, and you put on your costume, and you go to work, and you pretend that you care.
When I dress like everybody else or normal, I do. I feel like they can see through it. It feels like a disguise. I mean, I know I've mentioned I like to dress for social settings. I like to know what I'm going into, but that's because people can see through it. They're like, oh, he's uncomfortable. Or that's how I feel they think. Like, if they even sense that I'm uncomfortable, they'll just tear me apart.
I just want to create one-of-a-kind thing. A style all my own. But at 30, you start to believe what they tell you. When they say you're not good enough, and maybe I'm not.
What inspired me to do drag was, I think when I was about 9 or 10, was the first time I really realized that I was queer and trans. Like I said, I had always worn dresses. I had always dressed very girly. My mom had always done my hair and wanted me to do makeup and dyed my hair blonde and tried to make me a cheerleader, and I hated that. And then in about 4th grade, we had like a theme, you know, where you like have hat day or something at school. And it was dress like your twin day. So I dressed like my brother, and that was the first time, like, I wore full drag. And I even taped myself down a little bit, like, you know, really crude, shitty attempt, but like for a 4th grader. But like, that was the first time, like, I wore his shoes, I wore his shorts, I wore a baseball cap backwards, and I tucked my hair in it. That was the first time I realized, like, this feels comfortable, more so than wearing a dress, more so than being a woman. It just felt right. You know, and then I've always been attracted to women. Like, even when I was a little kid, I loved Selena, and I always thought she was gorgeous. Like, that was probably my first crush, was Selena. But it was just always that, where, like, I like men, I like women, you know, I dress like a woman, I dress like a man. For me, it's all just a construct that we've created for ourselves to put ourselves in categories and define who we are.
People always ask me, so you have body dysmorphia, you want to get boobs. How does your partner feel about that? Does he support you? Does he get angry? My partner and I have been together for a long time, and we got together at a time in my life when I was perfectly fine with being who I was. He slowly watched me deteriorate and lose all of my self-confidence. He doesn't have body dysmorphia. He's masculine. It's hard for someone without body dysmorphia to understand exactly 100% how body dysmorphia feels. He does support me. He just doesn't understand why I feel that way. That's not his fault. I do a lot of sewing, and I make him look at my designs, and he's fine with it. And that's all I can ask for, is someone who supports me and wants me to be me. I'm going to say for about the last probably 150 years. If you look historically, I mean, they've always, I'm not going to say gay, I'm going to say homosexuals. Like, they had their own clubs. They were underground. There were certain things you did to show people that you were that way, but you never did it in public. And with TV, people have come to be like, oh, well, that's gay, or this is what gay is, based on stereotypes and gender roles, and that's unfair to us because a lot of us don't fit those stereotypes. Yeah, we can be catty, and we can be bitchy, and we can have great style or whatever, but we're not that stereotype. That stereotype is unfair. That's how they view us, so that's how they've portrayed us. When you talk about drag queens, there's like this look. I don't know how to explain it. I think I'm gonna call it space age clown. Like Picasso did their face. Like, if anamorphic beauty was your goal, you would have Picasso paint your face. They do white, the stark white all the way around. It gives them like reverse raccoon eyes. A lot of the times there's like this two-tone thing going on, like they're orange and white. Like they're just orange, white. And everybody does that. They do that. And so when you come onto the drag scene, they're like, okay, you look great, but we're gonna tweak you. We're gonna tweak your look. You should do this, you should do that. And then there's drag families. It's like, oh, you'd be a great asset to us. I want people to see us a certain way, and you have what we like. We want you to represent our product, when really their product is the same thing everybody else has. All drag queens are the same. They're men in dresses, they have a tuck, they wear hair that's too big for them, they look ridiculous, and that's not what I want to portray. There are two things. There's a drag queen, and then there's female impersonators. And I'm sorry, but I would much rather my product be in closest with female impersonators than look like Mimi Bobek.
Into a star, remember that. Who else but a bosom buddy will tell you how wrecked you are? Just turn to your bosom buddy for aid and affection, for help and direction, for loyalty, love, and force. Remember that. Who else but a bosom buddy will sit down and level and give you the devil will sit down and tell you
My drag persona, I went for Mike Hunt because I feel like that really describes me. It's very crude if you say it fast enough. It's like a synonym for a vagina, which I think is hilarious because, but it's also a boy's name, which is very me. I'm very queer and crude and, I'm not afraid to just say how I feel. And when it offends people, it makes me laugh because I'm like, good, I hope you're offended. People would literally, in the gay community here, have literally said they don't like me because of my drag name. And I think that's ridiculous because it's like, it's just a name. Who cares? Like, it's just my drag persona. And I feel like when I'm in drag as a male, I just feel so horny. I want to fuck every woman in the audience. I want to just I flirt with everyone when I'm in drag. And my female persona is more just bitchy. I want to just scratch people's face off when I'm dressed like a woman. But yeah, I feel like drag can be defined as female or male, because in my opinion, drag is a character. Drag is whatever character you make it. You can be a cis female drag queen. There's no definition. And to try and act like drag is what you put in this little box and that it has to be that is just ridiculous. Drag should be anything. There's so many queer, non-binary people who dress like women but don't pad themselves and don't have tits and are really hairy, and that's okay. But when you're AFAB and you try and kind of do the same thing, where I would have tits and a beard a lot and then I would sing opera, and they didn't like that. They didn't respond to that because it didn't feel trans enough or it didn't feel drag enough. And there shouldn't be this construct with this drag persona. Everyone should just be able to do what they want. I'm a soprano. I can't sing boy songs. And to say that it ruins the female or it ruins the male illusion or whatever is just ridiculous. It's not true. There's no male illusion. When you have pounds of makeup and you have huge fake eyebrows, there's no illusion. You're AFAB and you can tell that you're wearing a lot of makeup to look like a man. That's okay. What's wrong with that? Why does everyone have to have a certain way of doing it? And one thing that I found in this community specifically, I don't know if it's every community, the gay community and everywhere, but in Albuquerque specifically, what I noticed was there's no real definition of drag kings in this town. A lot of them are trans men. And so when I wasn't trans enough, and when I have big tits and I have a big ass and I don't want to take testosterone and I don't want to get them cut off, they didn't understand that. And it's like they didn't accept me because I was different, because I sang opera, because I have big tits and a big ass, they didn't want to accept me. And I'm like, well, there's not much I can do about my ass. You know, I can only tape my tits into my armpits so far. That's as far as they go. They're huge. I don't know what to do, you know, and to say that they're not tucked in enough is just absurd and disgusting, you know. And if I didn't have body dysmorphia, a guy who was my promoter for a title that I had could have given it to me, or could have given me an eating disorder, because he constantly body shamed me and told me how my tits were not put away enough, which is disgusting. There's no, I mean, I should be able to have my tits out and have a glitter beard and also wear heels. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still a drag persona. I'm still in drag just because I'm only wearing a beard. That's who I want to be. Why is that not okay? So that's kind of what I've learned with drag, is that, you know, I'm just going to do what the fuck I want. And I don't care what people think. I'm just going to do it. If people don't like it, look the other way. That's my drag persona, is I don't give a fuck.
Big pet peeve. I hate it. And you know, even though I have dabbled with the idea of maybe getting boobs or getting laser hair removal, it's none of your business if I am at a show and you're another drag queen and you feel like that because we're part of the same world or the same industry, you are comfortable enough to come and ask me about my personal preferences. Am I transitioning? It's none of your business. Am I going to get the big chop? That's none of your business. Like, are you gonna get the big chop? And when you turn around and ask that question, they all get offended. Like, oh, why would you ask that? Like, why would you come up to me and ask me? It is none of your business. And especially straight people, like, it's none of their business. Like, if it was not drag queen's business, like, it is definitely even more none of your business. When you're at a drag show, there's this thing that happens if they don't like you. They all stand in groups, they drink their stupid cocktails, they stare at you while they're smoking, and they make eye contact, but nobody talks to you. Not having enough common courtesy at a show to be, okay, it's your turn, or letting me know when my lighting cues are going on, or letting me know that there was a delay in music, but letting me walk out there and be just a fool. And then they turn around and say, well, you didn't need us, you are a fool, like, you looked ridiculous out there. Well, what's ridiculous is, especially when you work with these organizations like the United Court System, where we go around and we take all the tips, put them in a 401k account, and then write checks for organizations like Shriners Hospitals, Cancer Research, aid foundations. Like, you are representing an entire organization, and that organization is declining because you are going out there and treating people like crap, and you are choosing to be a monster. You are using your drag persona to be a monster. Like, I don't know if it makes you feel like you have power, but turning around and being mean to someone who's there, making sure bake sales are going good, making sure people are on time, making sure people have safety pins and glue, like, and you're just standing there wondering why people aren't coming up to you and telling you how freaking gorgeous you are, like, you are a shame and you are a hindrance to your own community.
Life goes on and 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 on. On and 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 on. On and 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 on. On and 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 on. Babe, you best believe it, I'ma rip you up to pieces. I'm a lover, not
changing. Life goes on and on and on and on and on and on.
Why am I always the bad guy? I'm fucking tired of it. I don't know why people think I'm such a villain and think I'm so fucking abrasive. I'm abrasive when you've been fucking rude and disrespectful for months. And then you go, why don't you respect my daughter? I'm like, why don't you not spread COVID? We have a very deadly virus. And leaving your dirty tissues on the keyboard. What my manager said was, well, why are you in the back room? That back room belongs to the head of housekeeping and your assistant manager. Okay, I'm not fucking white. I am not cis, and I am not straight. That's what everyone seems to use against me, that I'm some cis, het, transphobe, whatever, white bitch. I can't do this anymore. It's literally bringing me to my breaking point. My manager told me today, basically, that I don't deserve breaks at all for an 8-hour shift. I have plantar fasciitis, I have nerve damage in my back and in my arm, and right now I am in so much pain, I don't know if I can stand very well. I am dying in pain. I am on my period, and I am in so much pain that I'm like about to start crying. And nobody cares. Nobody has ever cared about me. People always villainize me. What do I do to people to piss them off so bad?
Okay, so in the drag community, if your makeup, there's this thing that they say, I'm on point or I'm on fleek. I don't really consider them on point or on fleek because they all look like clowns. So when I do my makeup, I present a very, very vintage face. And beauty standards haven't changed for women. So like when I say a vintage face, it's very much like what you would expect a woman to look like a very beautiful, soft, picturesque face. And for drag queens, they find that threatening. And they've always called it, for the past 40 years, they've called it tranny face. In the 80s and 90s, they called it fish. And that's a bad thing. And they always tell me, you look too fish. Or, there's the tranny face, as if that was supposed to be hurtful or demeaning. But really, I think there are some transsexuals, and yeah, I'm going to use the word transsexual. I don't care if you like it or not. And I know it's not PSA, but there are some transsexuals that look amazing. You can't even tell the difference. And that's offending, especially when you go into the world of drag. They find that threatening. And if they find me threatening, it's not my problem. I just want to be pretty. My partner and I have been together for a long time, and we got together at a time in my life when I was perfectly fine with being who I was. He slowly watched me deteriorate and lose all of my self-confidence. He doesn't have body dysmorphia. He's masculine. It's hard for someone without body dysmorphia to understand exactly 100% how body dysmorphia feels. He does support me. He just doesn't understand why I feel that way. That's not his fault. I do a lot of sewing and I make him look at my designs and he's fine with it. And that's all I can ask for, is someone who supports me and wants me to be me.
Drag is not a feasible option for a career in Albuquerque, especially. I think I've only gotten paid at a show once, ever, and it was like $3 to keep our tips. And even when you actually produce a show and put on a show, it's like, even if you make like $200, it's just not enough. And all the effort and things that go into putting on a show and the money that you put into putting on an actual show, it never comes back. It's just not worth it here. There's not enough of a fellowship or a community in this town. Everybody has their own little clique. And the only way to make money in this town is to literally maybe have a gay bar. And even then, like, the people who own the gay bars are just raging alcoholics. So most of their income probably goes down their throats. And, you know, you're not getting money if you're drinking all your product. But luckily, I'm not an alcoholic, which is good, or a drug addict. I smoke a lot of weed, but that's legal, so who cares? I don't care what people think about that. But that's the only thing that keeps me calm. And when I'm stoned, I'm not incoherent, you know, flopping around the stage. Like, it's just one of those things that there's just no real way to make money. Even when you do RuPaul's Drag Race, even if you do well in RuPaul's Drag Race, RuPaul owns you. He gets a cut of whatever you make. Like, he does not care about you as a person. He cares about you as a product. And that's really what drag has become, is this marketable thing, which is disgusting. I don't think that that should be a thing. You know, in order for you to make money doing drag, you have to be part of some kind of corporate something. Otherwise, you don't make money. At shows, you really don't make any money, even if you put on a show. It's just not worth the time and effort and money you put into it. You don't get it back. So no, it's not a feasible career option.
When you come up to me at a drag show and you say, you looked great, but your performance kind of sucked, that's not for you to say. It is an art form. Maybe I practiced my lip syncing for hours and listened to the same song. Maybe I drove my partner crazy in the car over and over and over again, asking him which song would be better, or what about this one, to the point where he just wants to rip his hair out. You know, maybe your performance sucked. Maybe you thought that you were amazing, but in reality, everybody thought I was better than you, and you just can't handle that. Yeah, what the hell does the snow globe represent?
Oh, that's just me and Zach.
Oh, I was like, what the fuck?
No, that's just for me and Zach.
Okay.
That's just our little, like, that's just us for our whatever. Then you can go to Pan if you want, or you can go to Hecate. The little pestle is for Hecate.
This is Cernunnos.
Yeah, Cernunnos.
This is Cernunnos. Yeah, but what is...
Pan he's like,
Mirth.
he's like the god of the forest. He's like, he plays his pan flutes to lure nymphs and shit. And he just say something about how he's the god of the forest, the god of the hunt.
What is...
He's kind of like Cernunnos.
What does he have to do? Okay, I got it.
He's
It's
like,
fine.
Because he's like the fall god. He's like the god of the forest, the god of the hunt, the god of, you know, the harvest, kind of. So just say that that's like...
No, I know what he does. I got this.
That's nymphs.
No, I know what he does.
Okay. Go ahead whenever you're ready. You're still rolling.
The lucky cat, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Joan, if it's not working for you, just turn your whole body. It's okay. Just kind of turn like this so that you're kind of like...
Yeah, because it's hurting my back.
Yeah, because you're twisting in a weird way. So put your feet forward this way. There you go. Yeah, and just kind of gesture that way. There you go. And make sure keep this hand
Poor
down
dead cat.
as much as possible.
Poor dead cat.
There you go, that one. So yeah.
You're hating this, I can tell.
No, you're doing great.
No, I'm not.
You're doing fine, Joan.
No, I'm not.
Go back to the lucky cat.
What's the matter, dollface? I need your help, Sam. So you came to me? Of course I came to you. You know Jimmy. He's a hothead. If he finds out... Don't worry, Angel. I'll help you. Oh, thank you, Sam. Thank you. Being told I look too real. So we talked about tranny face, we talked about fish face, but then there's something called too real, and it's almost too perfect. In the drag community, I don't know what the pull is by wanting to walk out on stage and looking like you shoved a couch into your dance tights, but sometimes your padding makes you look pregnant. Like, I have never seen a real woman who wants to walk into a place and say, I wanted to look pregnant today. Like, this was my goal. I want to look like I got them birthing hips. Like, for a drag queen to like want to look like a real woman, sure, there's like tights with butt pads, but like you take an entire cushion, you contour it to your body, and you shove it into 6 layers of pantyhose, and to cap it all off, you try to slim down your waistline because you can't haul in your drinking and your eating. Like, that's not realistic. And for you to look at me and be like, girl, I don't like how skinny you are. Oh, there's Miss Skinny. Oh, you look too real. You know, that's a disgusting display of how you feel about yourself. That's an internal dialogue that you have with yourself because you don't feel comfortable about yourself.
The drag monarchy is a self-made drag hierarchy. I don't know, I think this is everywhere, all drag communities, at least in the US, where everyone has specific ranks that they have, where they're given crowns and, you know, they're given titles and they're given sashes and they're treated like royalty, but it's all a sham. It's all completely fake. You know, when you're given a title, I was given 2 titles. The first one I was given was very bottom of the barrel title. You know, the promoter is just a horrible, horrible person. He can't keep title holders. He has the same people wear the title for 3 years in a row because he can't find anyone else. And it's just a giant sham. Every time you go to a drag show, when you have a title, you're expected to act a certain way, you're expected to look a certain way, you're expected to give $1 to certain people in order to earn their respect or something. It's just, the whole thing is a complete sham. These people are nobodies. They're not real royalty. They just want to make themselves feel good by crowning each other and giving each other a little sash and, you know, giving each other a pat on the back and winning a competition, when a lot of times these competitions are completely rigged. Like, I've seen so many competitions where I'm like, I don't think that person deserved it. But they got it because they were friends with whoever was running the pageant, or the people who were the judges were really good buddies with them. You know, I watched one pageant where it was like supposed to be like the best of for the whole year. And the person who won it, the thing that really bothered me is that there was the judges were in a drag troupe with her, and the other judge was literally her drag mother. So of course they were going to pick her. They weren't going to pick anybody else. It was just completely rigged. It's just who's your bestest friend. It's not who's the most talented performer. You know, in some ways it is RuPaul's best friend race, which is disgusting. Like, no one should be given crowns and titles and sashes without earning them. You know, I just felt like there were a lot of competitions where I was like, I don't think they earned that. But I knew they were going to win because the judges had favored them. There's one queen who was Miss Pride in Albuquerque for like 3 years straight during COVID. And, you know, she won Duke City the same year. And it's like, I don't think that she earned Duke City. I saw the other competitors I liked better and I thought were more creative and more fun. But she won because she was a favorite. She was everybody's best friend. And so they gave her a little title and they gave her a little sash and a crown and made her feel special. And now she thinks that her shit don't stink. You know, and she thought that before because she was Miss Pride in like 2017. So they just re-gave her the prize. What's the point of having a competition if you're just going to give it to your best friend? It's humiliating and it's degrading and it's disgusting. And even when you do win, get treated like a celebrity, the way that Britney Spears gets treated, how she has like a conservatorship and everyone's telling her how to dress and what to wear and what performance to do and what color she has to do her hair, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's just on a smaller scale because everyone here's a bunch of nobodies. Even the bitch who got on RuPaul's Drag Race here. Do you remember her? No, neither do I. Nobody does.
So in the community, there's something called reading. It's when you rip someone to shreds and you tell them how you feel, but it's the truth. And that's what drag queens love to do. It's what brings them together. It's the one thing, because they know that they are all clones of each other, but it's that one thing that really like glues them together and makes them feel great about what they're doing. And unfortunately, it's hurting our community, and it's making straight people turn away from us and turn away from our goals and our commitment and our hard charitable work and efforts because you want to go out there and act like a shady whore. You want to be mean, and you want to see people cry, and you do it just to feel better about yourself or make yourself look better, weed out the competition, but you are hurting these individuals and you are hurting the way people view our community. And unfortunately, you run around saying, well, I don't think it's really fair that they talk about it like this in media, but you're doing it. You're creating the problem. It's your fault.
The first and last time I ever wore a miniskirt to the bar, I remember. It was one of my first drag shows. I was performing, so I chose to wear a little bubblegum pink mini skirt. I shaved my legs and wore nylons. I was looking really good. I had a ponytail. You could tell that I was a guy. Now, I know, all you straight men, I know you know we're men. I know you know it. I remember this guy goes, can I get you a drink? You're really pretty. Those are the red flags. You're really pretty. Oh, thank you. And I was so stupid. I was like, oh, yeah, sure, you could buy me a drink. Ha, ha, ha. And he put his hand on my ass. And I remember this woman walked over and she leaned, she goes, you're really pretty. I was, oh, thank you. And she goes, is my husband giving you a hard time? And I said, no, he's buying me a drink. She goes, you're his type.
Do I consider myself a villain? I mean, I thought that Agatha was more interesting than Wanda. I don't think that's a bad thing. And everyone else considers me the villain. So if they want me to be the villain, I can play the villain, but they don't like that when I play the villain. And then they get mad when I start being shitty. And I'm like, well, why would I be nice to you? You guys kicked me out for no reason. So yeah, I guess I am the villain, and I'll be the villain, and I'm fine with that. I've accepted my role as the town bitch. I'm gonna do me. Stop me.
I'm the bad guy. Duh.
The only thing I've ever wanted to do with my life is create fabulous dresses for people. Now in my 30s, I just have come to believe what they always said. I'll never be successful and no one will ever like your dresses.
I would say I still identify as queer. I would consider myself a lesbian, even though I'm married to a man, because of the fact that, like, I'm not attracted to other men. I'm not aroused by other men. I don't want to be with other men. You know, I have one guy that I want to be with, and that's it. He's it for me. You know, he's wonderful. He treats me so well. You know, he gives me everything I need. I don't want to be with another man. But I am very attracted to other women. You know, I want to be with other women, and having an open marriage, as long as there's communication and as long as there's an agreement and a an understanding of where everyone's coming from. You know, he's really let me explore my sexuality and my identity, and I really appreciate him for that. He's so wonderful for letting me do that, that he gets jealous, but that's just because he's a Pisces and a baby. But deep down, I think he understands that, like, I'm not doing it to hurt him. I'm just doing it because I feel like there's something missing, that I don't have, like, a girlfriend in my life. And so, you know, I've always wanted to be with women, but there's just not a whole lot of gay or bi women in Albuquerque. This place is terrible. It's so dry. The pussy's like the Sahara out here. But I would say I identify as a non-binary lesbian, even though I'm married to a man, which is fine. Because if you don't like it, suck my dick.
Being a type. Now, this is on different levels. So in drag queen world, you've got to be 6 feet tall. You've got to have big hair. You've got to look like you slept in your makeup. You've got to look like almost like a disgusting fool, and that's the type. Like so big and exaggerated that it's not even pretty. That's the type. In straight world, you gotta not be too prissy. You can't be over flamboyant. You can't run around hurting people. You can't say how you feel. And that's the type. In the gay world, it's either you are prissy and feminine or you are masculine. But it doesn't matter who you are because people are so into themselves that they're just quick to be like, you're not the type. So it doesn't matter if I act gay, it would be as gay as I want. It's none of your business. And it is not your place to call me out and tell me that people aren't going to respect me. Because maybe I have more respect for being who I am than you. I already covered this one. However, I've had other drag queens. So during the day, they have jobs. At night, the drag queens. They're really famous. Everybody knows them. I wish I could say her name, but I won't. Because I pride myself on being the bigger person and having more respect for them. Like, show them love when they've shown me hate. But I think princess is a term that came from somebody that didn't like the fact that this individual was femme, and then she uses that to make other people feel bad. And I don't need her emotional baggage weighing me down, because her emotional baggage, none of my business. Spilling the tea as if it was any of your business to begin with. Okay, so let's say, oh, someone's at a drag show and they recently just got out of jail. It's none of your business. Why would you then run around to the bar, tell everybody else their business, and make it hard for them to work a charitable room? Like, that's none of your business. That just makes you big, like, nosy Nancy, like you're Mrs. Kravitz. Being gay, people think, God, look at him. He must go out and have all the fun. He must have 5 or 6 intimate partners a week. He might, for lunch, instead of eating, go have a couple cocktails and then go have some fun. Well, but we also don't. Some of us are even more conservative than these quote unquote straight families. They treat their body as a temple and they don't feel like they need to have 5 or 6 people a day or 20 people a week to make them feel good about themselves. And those that do, so what? Growing up in school, when you are different, or you living in a white moral community with lots of Mormons, or hicks or farmers. It's so drilled into their head that they cannot be feminine and they have to be a man that they will use terminology like AIDS magnet. And just because I'm a certain way does not mean I'm going to get AIDS. Maybe you have more of a chance of getting it than I do.
My experience in the LGBTQ community here in Albuquerque has been awful. I thought that they would be accepting. I thought that was the whole reason Marsha P. Johnson threw a brick through the window and fought the cops and died for our rights, was so that we could be, trans weirdos and not have to live under some kind of gender construct and identity construct. Like, she really fought for us to do what we wanted. And I feel like by our community disrespecting that and making people feel like they don't belong, they're shitting on everything she did for us. All of the things that these people have done to create Pride has become this corporate adventure for people rather than it being about being queer, being gay. Now it's about how much money can we make off of it. That's what every event is about. It's about how much money can we make, and when you don't make enough, they treat you like shit. They make you feel bad about it when it's like, the reason that people didn't come is because this bar sucks and nobody comes to it anyway. Even if I have an amazing show, I rickrolled my audience one time and it was hilarious. I thought it was amazing and people really reacted to it and they loved it. Even when you have a good show, even when you have a lot of turnout, the owner of the bar will still tell you, oh, well, you didn't make quite enough in sales, so you didn't get any of that back. So I may have to put you on probation. Like, that's how the community is. It's very cliquey. It's very like you have to lick the feet of the people who are in charge or who think they're in charge when really they're not in charge of anything. They're just a little clique of drag queens who think that they're special. Drag queens and gay men. Because there's only really like one lesbian in the mix of any of that. And, women are just, especially people who are AFAB, like me, who are just not treated with the same respect that drag queens and gay men are. And I think it's because gay men are just not interested in us. And as much as we want to believe that we have equal rights, we really don't. Even in the gay community, we do not have the same rights as any of the gay men. We don't have any of the same respect. We don't get treated the same way. We get treated like we're lesser than because we have a vagina and tits. And when you're married to a man, you're definitely not gay enough, which is ridiculous. There shouldn't be any gay enough, straight enough, queer enough, trans enough. But that's our community. That's the reality of it, is that there's so much clickiness and so much like just bullshit that you have to deal with in order for people to respect you at all or to even notice you. That if you make one little move, like they were trying to say that I was appropriating gay culture, and I'm like, well, I'm gay. Like, I am gay as fuck. Real gay. So how am I appropriating your culture when I'm gay? Like, that makes because I'm married to a dude? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you can be married to a man and still consider yourself gay and still consider yourself non-binary or trans. There's nothing, where does it say that that's not right? And the other thing that really bothered me is that they respected my husband more than they respected me, when it's like, he's not even gay. And when they would hit on him, it would really upset him and make him feel very uncomfortable. That is a real thing when they have this like fetish of like, oh, well, we're going to take your man and we're going to make him gay. And I'm like, no, honey, if my man was fucking you, it's because he was already gay. There's no turning him gay. That's not a thing. So stop trying.
There's this notion, and a lot of people say that it's in the Bible. Well, that's a mistranslation, and I love history, so do some historical research before I use the Bible to then roll us into this class of degenerates. There are people who choose to make bad decisions. They are degenerates. But not everybody who's gay is a degenerate. We have morals. We were raised, in some cases, by ultra-conservative families who have great morals, who do the whole family thing. I don't think I'm living in sin. And for you to come up and tell me that I'm going to go hell because I'm living in sin, it's not your place to say. And promiscuity feeds into this sinfulness, and just because someone is promiscuous does not mean I'm promiscuous, and it definitely does not mean I'm living in sin. I wake up with my partner, I have coffee in the morning, I go to bed, we sleep, I wake up, we have a life. But it's the same thing that you guys are doing every day. I just choose not to do it with a woman, and that does not make me sinful. I blame the AIDS epidemic for this. Not the people who got AIDS, but I blame the whole epidemic and how it was handled. And there's these groups called Focus on the Family. They take their ultralistic Bible views and they really drive them home and tear apart these non-conforming families. And one of the big ways they did that was by taking something like AIDS or gonorrhea or the clap and then saying, oh, statistically speaking, gay people get it more. Well, that's not fair. And so there's this notion like, oh, he must be dirty. Honey, don't talk to the dirty guy. Like, it doesn't make me dirty or unclean. Like, do you see a bell around my neck? Do I have to shout unclean? No. And for the record, I'm one of the cleanest people I know. I scrub my skin until I bleed. I always try to invoke spirit with a picture.
Sorry, hang on. Let me turn off your ringer on here.
Is there someone calling?
No, it's just TikTok.
I've turned down my volume, so fuck my phone.
Sorry, cut for a second.
So it's September 6th, 4:27 a.m. I'm doing night audit at this shit hotel that I've been working at. I had a weird dream while I was sleeping, getting ready for my night audit. I remember the situation where I had some friends named Byron and Marissa, and they were roommates for a long time, and they were really good friends. And then they realized that they were in love with each other, so they got together and they got married or whatever. When they first got together, Byron was convinced that I was trying to, like, steal him away from Marissa, and that was never the case. By that point, we had been friends for a long time, and so in my dream, it's like, I don't know if they're still telling people that like, I tried to steal him away from her, but he's so fucking gross. I would never fuck him again. And in my dream, I was like, what kind of fucking monster do you think I am that I would do that to you and your wife? Like, I've been with Zach a year less than they've been together. You know, I mean, we've been together for a long time. Like, why would I be interested in fucking you anymore? And I feel like they're still hung up on that, and they think that actually happened, and it was totally a fallacy in their heads, and they're fucking idiots. But that's the kind of shit that people in the community say about me, that I'm just this monster. I'm sure somebody has said I'm a pedophile, which is not even close to true. Gross. It's like, I'm so tired of people talking shit about me. I didn't do anything, really. And when I was dreaming about it and I was asking them, like, what kind of monster do you think I fucking am? Like, that's the kind of monster they think I am, and I don't get it. You know? People have said that I've sexually assaulted people in the community. Never happened. They're liars, and they're known liars, so everybody knows that they're lying about it. People think that I'm this thing that I'm not. A vile creature. I mean, people just don't like me. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a monster. I'm so tired of being alive in this society where nothing gets better.
The inspiration for the Sokka show was really just, I mean, sometimes when communities bully me or when people are just really shitty to me, I just stop going to their bar and I stop singing at their karaoke events and I hate it and I stop participating in their drag bullshit. And when COVID hit, we couldn't do that anyway. So we heard about this channel in town, the public access channel, and we found out that it was free to film. And I mean, we've always been creative. And so my friend and I, we had this other friend. He is a drug addict and a prostitute, male prostitute. And, you know, I never really respected him, but I liked hanging out with him because we had some fun times. So he introduced us to the public access channel. And the character of Sokka actually is totally a dig on him. Just like the way that he lisps. Yeah, the way that he lisps and does a lot of drugs, does poppers constantly. Like the way that he's just she's a giant whore. Like giant slut, just will fuck anything. Like that's definitely that guy. And really that's how it came about. It was literally just, we just wanted to do something creative and we wanted it to be stupid as fuck because it's funny. Like we just did whatever we thought was funny. You know, we never did it to make anyone angry. We just did it because we enjoyed it, you know, and it was so much fun. Like we ended up meeting some really cool people and having a lot of fun and just, you know, doing some really creative stuff that was pretty groundbreaking, even for public access channel, you know, because nobody else was even using the green screen. Nobody else was even, my husband and I came up with animations and stuff like that, things that people can't even do in a week. We would pump out in a week, you know. There was one episode where we had 4 music videos that I had to edit, and it was a nightmare. But when I got it done, it was amazing. It was just so much fun. It's like you look back on it, and you just think, like, if I died right now, I'm proud of what I put out. I put into that show, and I love it. And so the more that it progressed, the more that we really learned a lot about this character, and I don't regret it at all. I had so much fun doing the Sokka show. I'd love to do a second season, but having a full-time job makes it hard.
My, this aquatini's fabulous. I always loved this place. The scenery, the windows, ceilings. Lovingly dedicated to my mommy dearest. My mommy dearest. What kind of filth is this? It's all trash, filth, lies. She was always doing this to me. Always. Always, always lying. Always deceiving me. When I thought she was in her room, she was out there with boys. When I thought she was at school, she was out with boys. You know, it's okay for me. It's okay for me because I'm the popular one. I'm the popular one. I'm Sally Jesse Raphael, your host today. You know me. I'm always with that dirty laundry. Yes, that's the segment that we get the colors out, we get all your stains out, we learn all your secrets. You know, if you tuned in last week, you know, some people have really bad fetishes. They love to dress up like Looney Tune characters. Last week was all about fetishes. And Bugs Bunny, who likes to hide in the urinals and jump out at people when they're peeing. You know, I never really understood people who liked that stuff. But then again, I mean, I'm wholesome, right?
MNC Productions started, Zach and I got together, I want to say like maybe 2013, something like that. I don't know. We've been together almost 9 years. That's all I know. Basically, it started because we're both creatives, and we first got together. When he first met me, I was actually the lead actress in a show in a local theater company. And so that's kind of how we bonded right away, is that we both did theater, and he came to my show, and, he really liked my show. And then we started performing together, and that was just, it was very easy for us to create a a production company, because it started out as M&Z Karaoke, because we first got a karaoke gig, and that's when, he was always doing the sound engineering and I was the hostess, and it was just so much fun. It's like, we just had a blast doing that, and then it was the same thing where a clique kind of cast us out of this job. And then we made a music video with just a crappy little handy cam and like a broken computer. It was a nightmare. But that was, I think, the first real thing that came out of M&Z Productions was M&Z Karaoke, which was like, we made our music video with a green screen, a really crappy green screen with a horrible computer that was broken. It was a mess. But when we finally got it done, it's one of those things, like, it's not great, but I look back on it and I don't regret it. I thought it was awesome for what we did. I thought what we put out was amazing.
All my college boyfriends and my one-night stands, my male co-workers and platonic gay friends.
No pain could be deeper, no life could be cheaper, no point anymore if I can't love her. No spirit could win me, no hope left within me. Hope I could have loved her and that she'd set me free. But it's not to be if I can't love her. Let the world be done with me.
To femme. So a lot of people think we bundle this into the gay community. No. So Madonna said it best. To look like a boy is okay because you have no problem looking like a boy, but for a boy to look like a girl, you think it's degrading. And there are different ways you can be femme. Like, look at metrosexuals. There for a while, people had a problem with metrosexuals because, is he gay? Is he bi? Well, it's none of your business. Maybe he just likes to look good. Maybe she just likes to look good. Maybe she likes to wear 6-inch stripper heels to the grocery store because it makes her feel good. Femme is not a thing. It's a construct. You created it because these companies take their brand and say, well, this brand is for women. This brand is not. So just because I live my life a certain way doesn't mean you can't apply me to what everybody else is getting. Everybody's getting equal treatment. Why can't I? Why is it so hard for you to be like, well, it's still a person. You should still have the same rights as everybody else. There for a while, if something were to happen to my husband, I wouldn't be allowed in the hospital. I'm not considered immediate family, and until we got married in New Mexico, I wasn't even considered a spouse. I had many arguments with nursing staff about this, and I basically told them to go to hell. Or I go have lunch and leave me alone and I hope you choke. And while this was not professional or a way that you should treat a situation involving yourself and other people, those were my feelings, because I can't understand why you would say, you're different, so we can't let you live your life like everybody else.
We could do video production and stuff like that way better than anybody else. Our advertising skills and our, media skills are just so way above a lot of what anybody in the community can even do. So that's kind of where it started, is we did M&Z karaoke, and then it just kind of became like M&Z photography. After I started doing drag, I would take pictures. I just bought a camera, really, and I started just doing photography. And then after that, it became M&Z Productions, because we started producing shows, like live shows, and we'd videotape everyone's performance, and we'd take pictures of everybody's performance. And, it just became this kind of thing. And then after a while, then we made the Saka show, and then it really became like a brand. And so people still talk about me, even though I haven't really talked to anybody in the community in more than a year since COVID hit. People still talk about our show. People still talk about our production company and try and tell everybody how wicked we are and stuff like that. And all it does is advertise for us. Like, people go, oh my God, I have to see this horrible show. And then they watch it, and it's like they laugh because it's ridiculous. And they realize that, like, maybe I'm not this horrible monster that everyone thinks I am. Like, I had some friends who, like, a long time ago, before I ever met Zach, they decided I was trying to steal his man, which was never the case, and I had a dream about it recently, where I was literally talking to him, like, what kind of monster do you think I am? He's part of the gay community now, sort of. Not really, because they're a straight couple. And so they're not really accepted in the gay community, but they like them because the owner of one of the bars in town thinks that they're easy to manipulate and they're idiots, which he's not wrong. But, it's just, for me, like, they definitely talk shit about me. Like, I swear there was a whole show that I saw one time at this club with just people who I swear were just talking shit about me. Like, I had an ex-boyfriend there. I had the owner of the club, the people who I was just mentioning, who were just like a couple of beavers, just horrible people. And I swear they just did this show just to talk shit about me. I know that they did. I could just feel it, that, like, my name came up at some point and they were all talking shit about me, which is amazing. I love it. I love that people still talk about me. I don't care if they talk shit about me. I think it's hilarious that they are still talking about me. Like, move on with your life. What else are you doing that you're sitting there talking shit about me? You're obviously sad.
I was raised in church. At one point, I was told I can't even join the choir because God doesn't like gay boys singing. That's disgusting to me. All I wanted to do was sing the songs I loved that made me feel good about myself. And here you are saying, I'm glad that you're here every week, but God doesn't like gay. And that's the stigma. That's what it is. You want to have this beautiful relationship with something out there that makes you feel good and makes you feel loved, and you have his quote-unquote best servants ordained by God tearing you down and telling you that you can't have that relationship. Dogma in itself has been created by people to have one of two outcomes. Either it tears something down and creates something new, or re-enliven something that is better for people. And they use that every day in our lives. They say, it's not okay to do that. Why don't you do this instead? Or, we like that you do that, but we're just going to tweak it a little way. Just a little bit. Just make it acceptable. And that's dogma. But you take all of that and then you put it on a person and create this stigma to where, if I act like that, 6 people are going to beat me up. or I might get stabbed, or I don't feel safe because you have decided to teach me that it is not okay to be this way. Sexuality. People immediately think dirty, gross acts, or degeneracy, or pornography, or all those things you associate dirty grossness with, but that is a stigma. And unfortunately, people are like, okay, kids, this is gay. You see that character, you can't watch that. Like, growing up, the only reason I got to see All Dogs Go to Heaven and Fievel Go West, an American Tail, is because my mom's brother, who was an ultra-Christian conservative, said, I sent you some movies in your care package this month because my kids can't watch them because they have gambling and prostitution. So because it wasn't okay for his kids to watch it, it was okay for me to watch it because my mom didn't lead an ultra-moral life like he did. And so it's the same way with sexuality. They say, oh, well, you know, he doesn't like women, so you can't. Or like, oh, she's a lesbian. You can't, like, you can't. You can't just sit there. It's where the other hostess sits.
Oh, well, she's not here right now. And
You're damn right she's not here right now.
So, madam, tell me what makes this restaurant so disastrous.
Shh, 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 shh. You're gonna wake her up.
Wake who up?
Shh. You're gonna wake her up.
Okay. Help! Oh my God, help!
Now look what you've done. You woke the other hostess up. God. Now we're gonna have to let her out. Hope she doesn't have Sylvester the transvestor with her.
Hi guys, it's
Oh my
me.
God.
How you guys doing? Oh my God, that Gordon Ramsay, it's a Gordon Ramsay. Oh my God, I'm your
So
biggest
as you were
fan.
saying,
It's like, oh my God.
what were you saying?
I love you.
What were you saying?
I love you so
You were
much.
asking me how bad the restaurant is?
Yes, right. This is the perfect place. This is absolutely the biggest disaster I've ever seen in my life.
Why don't you tell T.T. Ramsey, whatever the hell he thinks he is, who this is?
Sylvester.
This is our owner. Just stand
Lovely
up.
to meet you, sir.
Stand up.
What's
Stand
your
up. I came from Colorado. Okay, it's a hodgepodge to see how they lived on a day-to-day basis. But moving to New Mexico, especially in our little town, they're like, oh, well, who are you related to? Whose son are you? Whose grandson? Hey, are you related to this person? They automatically think that you are a part of that culture. And it hurts my feelings because when they find out that I'm not, they're like, oh. Especially if you are good at things, they will view you as a threat and try to tear you down and sabotage how you feel about yourself because they didn't have the chance to become good at that, or they didn't take the time to invest in themselves and become good at that. They often say, oh, gee, I wish I could do that. Well, you can. Like, oh no, my husband. Like, fuck your husband. Like, who cares? If someone is holding you back, then you need to get rid of the trash and clean it up a little bit so you can have a better life, so you can do better things with yourself. You don't just have to raise 16 kids and go to church. I have tried to do certain things in the community, and in every community, and this one in particular, they've told me, well, if I don't like it, you should go where there's more people like you. And I was like, well, what is that supposed to mean? And they're like, you know, gay people. If you feel like people don't like you, you should go where people will like you. And I'm like, that's not okay. Why don't you go back? Why don't you just get out of my face?
Hit me with your best shot. Fire away. Hit me with your best shot. Why don't you hit me with your best shot? Hit me with your best shot. Fire away.
So the job I have right now, I work in a hotel. I mean, it's better than retail and restaurants. I'll give it that. It's not the worst job on earth, but to me, it's like it brings back everything that I hated about the gay community, where I have a GM who's a gay man, and he will never respect me and never treat me right because I'm a woman, and he looks down on me because I'm a woman and because he doesn't want to fuck me. And I'm like, well, that's fine. I don't want to fuck you either. You're gross. But you can still have a mutual respect for me and talk to me like a person and not talk down to me. Even this morning, I was, I had just gotten off work doing night audit, and I was trying to take a little nap before I came in here today. But he called me and he goes, oh, I got your message and you said that you needed my email address and it's like literally all over the place. You could have just emailed me. And I'm like, well, I'm not there right now. And when I called you on Saturday, you weren't there. So is it really my fault? No, you're just being an asshole and you love talking down to me. But he, expresses a lot of nepotism towards the assistant manager who is a gay man. And it just feels like I'm stuck in that same swamp of bullshit that I was doing drag and being surrounded by gay men who will never respect me because I have tits and a vagina and who treat me like I'm lesser than them because I don't have a dick to swing around, and really one of the clubs that we used to go to all the time had a bunch of glory holes everywhere. I found used condom wrappers in one of the back rooms, and it's just one of those things like I would never do anything like that, yet they don't treat me with respect. Like, if I had a penis, we might have a different conversation. But because I don't, a lot of these gay men look at me with just disdain almost. Like, you don't worship me. I'm a drag queen. You don't think I'm fabulous. I'm like, well, especially when you start competing with them. So my dream job, I guess, would be to be surrounded by animals, like with an animal sanctuary, and just maintain that and make money off it because I hate working in a hotel. But working in a hotel, being poor is just, it's so hard when you have a child. My husband's trying to go to school now, and so I have to kind of carry the weight of the financial burden, and it's hard. But you know what? I don't regret it. I feel like I'm working towards something bigger. And I wish that there was something I could do where I could even just do video editing and stuff like that. But it's just so hard to break into this industry. It's such a man's industry. It's so cliquey. Not many women directors or producers or writers really make it big. Like, it's a very niche thing to be a female and to be a photographer or to be a director producer. And because it's just such a man's world, and because the business end of it is such a man's thing, to be a woman in this industry, you kind of get lost in the waves. So it's hard for me to say what even my dream job would be, because honestly, my dream job would be staying at home playing Fallout all day and getting paid to do that. I would love that, to just sleep all day. Like, I'm so tired all the damn time. But, working in this job, it's not great, and it definitely doesn't pay enough for the bullshit I have to deal with. But it's paying the bills right now, and maybe eventually, when this market crashes, I can actually buy a house eventually. That's my dream job, is to live in a house and literally do nothing, surrounded by animals, and maybe be like in a fortress where no one can get in. Because I hate people. I'm such an introvert. I may be a performer. Like, I love performing. I like singing. I like dancing. I like being in front of an audience. But when I go home, it's so draining because I don't like people. I don't like crowds of people. COVID has been one of the best things that's ever happened to me and my family because I don't like people, and I like having the excuse of not having to go to family parties. I don't like these people. They're assholes. They've always been mean to me. They don't accept me for who I am. And to not have to be around them and to have to make an excuse of like, oh, I'm not vaccinated yet, or like, oh, COVID, I can't come. Like, it makes life so much easier than having to just see people and smile and pretend you give a fuck what they think, because I don't. So, I guess my dream job would be to stay away from people and be in a fortress surrounded by animals. That's my dream job. And I wish I could make money doing that.
I've heard this several times in my life, phrased differently. I worked in a restaurant. I wouldn't really recommend that restaurant, but she said to me, the owner said to me, I feel like you're the type of person that's good at everything. And finally, you're not good at something and it makes you mad. Like, maybe I am good at it, and she just doesn't want to admit that I'm good at it because I wasn't family. And there were lots of arguments about this, but it's unfair to me. Like, I'm just trying to work and make a living, and you're sitting down tearing me down. You're not even giving me constructive criticism. You're not even telling me how I can get better or what I should do. You're just saying I'm not good at it. And that, for a good owner, does not make a good business model. Again, employers, you know you sound better on paper than you are in real life, right? Like, okay, I'm sorry you don't like me or you feel bad about yourself, but like, screw you. You don't have the right to say that to somebody. I'm like, maybe you can't even read or write. Or maybe my voice in paper is stronger than the words I have to say to you and it makes you uncomfortable. But if it's making you uncomfortable, then I'm doing my job. There are very few job possibilities in our town, but being told that I can't work at a hardware store because I'm gay is asinine. And if you saw my resume, I could do anything I want with my resume in Colorado. People would love to hire me. Why? I'm great at setting up modules. I can read schematics. I have a great business model. I know how to drive point of sales. I can lead a team of 30 to 60 people on a daily basis without coffee. No problem. But for you to tell me that I can't work somewhere because of my sexual preference is asinine, and you shouldn't have that job. And yes, I did call corporate on them and he got fired. When you are not straight or you don't have plans on having children with a woman, or you don't want to go to your 9-to-5 job, or you don't want to work at Taco Bell, you know, there are things that straight people do, and it follows this thing called the American dream. You will grow up, you will be a man, you will have kids, you will have a great house, you will say yes, dear, you will say no, dear. And I don't want that. That is gross to me. And even though I like to watch shows like the Donna Reed show, look what Donna Reed did. She was always undermining her family and being a devious plot maker to get the outcome that she desired. She is the character that undermines the American dream. Like, why can't I be like that? Why can't I be different and have what everybody else has without having to fit this formula? And a lot of the straight community says, well, you can't because you're not straight. You can't because you're not going to have kids. You can't because why? I have missed a lot of opportunities that could have benefited me because I'm proud. I decided I don't need them in my life. And I'm talking about when people say, you know, you need to tone it down. I don't want you scaring our customers. I don't want to lose business because of the way you are. Well, I don't back down from that. And then what I do is I reverse it, and then I make myself more conspicuous. And then they say, well, why would you do that? I asked you. And I said, well, it wasn't your place. And while you own the business, that is unfair to me and everybody else like me or anybody who's not like you. Back to products. Companies take their product and they market it to certain people or certain genders or groups because they know that's what's going to sell a high volume of product. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's only for women or made specifically for a gender group. It just means that they're making lots of money gearing it towards this specific group. And I've had people say men don't wear makeup. Look at Chanel. She made a whole line of makeup for men because she knew that men want to look good and men would love to look flawless, but they won't go near a female-based product. So for you to tell me that I can't wear makeup or I can't feel good about myself, like, I love to say it, it's none of your business. I just want to thank you so much for watching the Soka Show. I really want to change it to the Joan Show. There's been a little fight with that. I've had to tie her up several times. As we know, it was the Soka Show, but you know, she was a dumb whore. I beat her up, I tied her up, I threw her in my basement, I drugged her, there were magical leprechauns. You know, after all that, me, Joan, I got my theme song. And see, and I'm still beautiful because I have her life essence. She doesn't have it anymore.
I guess my plans for the future with M&Z Productions would be, or even not with M&Z Productions, I really just want to find a place where I can live in a house with my family and just to be happy every day and not have to struggle to pay the bills and not have to worry about if my son is safe or if I'm safe, you know, because when you go to work in this situation now after COVID, it's dangerous. Every time I walk outside, I'm scared of being raped. I'm scared of being carjacked, you know, especially here in Albuquerque. Our crime rate is just out of hand. You know, car theft is incredible, is amazing. Like, I can't even tell you how bad it is. And, you know, it's just one of those things, like, I guess my plans for the future is I just want to buy a house and surround it with a prison-like fence so that no one can get in. That's what I want. I want to be a total hermit and just be free, you know? So, I'm my cunt, and thank you for listening to me. Deuces.
Are you ready? It's time for me to take it. I'm the boss right now, and I'm gonna fake it. Now when you go down, 'cause this is my game, and you're back to come to place. I used to hold my freak back, now I'm letting go and make my own choice. Bitch, I run this show, so leave the lights on. No, you can't make me behave. You say I'm complicated, I must be out my mind. You got me underrated, rated. What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being confident? What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being confident? It's time to get the chains out. Get your tongue tied up, 'cause this is my route, and I'm dangerous, and you can get off, 'cause it's all about me tonight, tonight. So you say I'm complicated, I must be out of mind. You had me underrated, rated. What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being confident? What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being? What's wrong with being confident?